Folks, let me tell you, as Canadian, we are living in exciting times. We are witnessing a seismic shift in global security, and Canada is right at the center of it. The NATO summit in Ankara, Turkey, isn't just another gathering of top world leaders and one moron. No, this NATO summit is the moment that changes everything. Today, I will open the curtain for you on this amazing story. I'll break it down into 4 parts. First, the trouble with Trump. Volatile, nonsensical decision-making from the White House is fundamentally eroding NATO's strength and making allies nervous. Second, Canada steps up. Prime Minister Mark Carney is proposing a game-changing $100 billion defense, security and resilience bank to offset American unpredictability. Third, the middle power pivot. Canada is leading a coalition of nations ready to finance their own security without waiting for Washington's approval. And fourth, what this means for us. From Arctic defense to European partnerships, Canada is positioning itself as a NATO heavyweight. Let's be clear. The orange American conman's incompetent approach to diplomacy is reducing NATO's structural strength, plain and simple. Here's how. First, it eradicates the deterrent effect. NATO's foundation is Article 5, the promise that an attack on one is an attack on all. But when the orange fascist gangster frames the alliance as a transaction, demanding personal loyalties over legal treaties, that certainty evaporates. And Trump's fascistic buddy Putin takes notice. When the guarantee of US intervention gets fuzzy, the deterrent effect, it's gone. Second, it sabotages military unity. A strong alliance requires seamless integration, joint intelligence sharing and predictable resources. Trump's unilateral actions, like launching surprising conflicts without consulting allies, leaves NATO blind and fractured. The Pentagon's sudden reduction in troops, ships and aircraft provided to Europe directly handicaps NATO readiness. Never mind the orange idiot support of Putin in Ukraine through his inaction. Third, it fractures geopolitical focus. Instead of concentrating on threats, allies exhaust diplomatic resources managing sudden disputes and economic coercion from Washington. Even after allies agree to hike spending up to 5% GDP, Trump shifts his grievances to attack them for refusing to back his offensives. The expense of this drama is too high for the alliance, forcing everyone to lower standards just to avoid public blow-ups. Former Canadian Ambassador Carrie Buck put it perfectly. NATO has to pepper over some issues that could be better addressed. It has to move to the lowest common denominator because the cost of drama is too high for the alliance. Now, all that being said, I'm really looking forward to hear Carney's statement at the end of this week. However, I can tell you already there will be a subject that is really exciting for us Canadians. Because Mark Carney is not asking for Washington's approval. Instead, he is creating new NATO-related institutions and inviting others to join. Meet the Defense, Security and Resilience Bank, or DSRB. It is a direct financial antidote to Trump's instability. The bank will pool the financial capital of roughly 10 plus funding nations to secure AAA-rated, cheap, long-term credit lines. Allies will be able to fund defense independently of US validations, rendering the US effectively irrelevant. Here's the genius of it. The bank sidesteps private sector roadblocks. Many commercial banks won't fund weapon manufacturers due to ESG guidelines. The DSRB resolves this by acting as a dedicated multilateral backstop, drawing support from strong global finance leaders like Deutsche Bank, RBC and JP Morgan to de-risk private investment in defense manufacturing. Even so, the US bank JP Morgan is part of the DSRB. The orange American conman can get his greedy fingers on it. A strong regulatory backbone protects the money from any government access. And get this, Canada was officially selected to host the bank's global headquarters. 5 Canadian cities are competing for the honor, while Luxembourg will manage the European base. This translates to hundreds of new jobs in finance, research and analysis right here in Canada. This is where NATO's future gets rewritten. The DSRB explicitly frames itself as an initiative for an alliance of middle powers, nations like Canada, Germany, France taking control of their own security. So, who is in? Canada and Luxembourg are publicly confirmed. Canada aims to announce about 10 more funding members this week. South Korea is reviewing the proposal with a 50-50 chance to join, potentially expanding the bank's Indo-Pacific reach. But not everyone is on board yet. The UK, Netherlands and Finland are developing their own parallel defense financial mechanism, although talks are ongoing about a potential merger. The bank aims to mobilize up to 100 billion to fund defense projects, particularly helping small to medium defense firms to bridge critical funding gaps. It's designed to achieve a AAA credit rating, allowing governments and companies to borrow at favorable rates and scale up production quickly and efficiently. Carney's vision is clear. Middle powers should finance their own security collaboration, keeping the US involved only where true cooperation is possible and beneficial rather than depending on Washington's mood swings. Now, let's talk about what this all means for Canadians and our European partners. Canada is projecting defense spending of 2.13% of GDP for 2026-2027, moving towards 5% target by 2035. But here's the rub. Our parliamentary budget officer estimates that meeting the 5% target will require additional spending, average 33.5 billion a year over the next decades. That's not pocket change, folks. Not by any stretch. But we are not just writing checks to foreign contractors. The Carney government Build, Partner, Buy strategy focuses on strengthening our domestic defense industry. As an example, both bidders for Canada's 100 billion submarine fleet procurement, a German-Norwegian consortium, and South Korea's Hanwha have pledged major investments into Canadian steel, aerospace, and advanced technology. And just days ago, Canada announced it's entering negotiations with Swedish company Saab to procure the Global Eye, an early warning aircraft platform. Trade between Canada and Sweden has grown 116% in 5 years. That's real economic partnership. For Europe, this bank is a lifeline. It protects allied defense supply chains from a reckless, unpredictable US-led world order. A world order that is severely limping now, courtesy of the most corrupt and incompetent so-called American president in history. Carney's initiative is about resilience, independence, and putting much fewer eggs into Washington's basket. So here we are, folks. To the demise of US and Canada's MAGA, NATO is not falling apart. It is being restructured. Even though the US remains the Allies' strongest military power, but the assumption that America supports comes without conditions is no longer true. And the countries that adapt most quickly will influence NATO's direction. And Canada is clearly up front. The Defense Bank increased spending and Canada's Build, Partner, Buy strategy is a tangible step. Whether PM Carney's coalition materializes in Ankara will become clear later this week. And that submarine contract decision? It's expected literally any day now, even possibly today. What we are witnessing in Canada is embracing its role as middle power leader, building frameworks that will endure beyond any single administration. It's about time we stop apologizing and start leading. I would like to leave you with this question. Do you think the US will continue to serve as the cornerstone of NATO? Or are middle powers, such as Canada, Germany, and the United Kingdom, already shaping a NATO that can operate independently of the US? Share your thoughts in the comments below. This is an important and timely topic. If you want more breakdowns, just like this one, clear, direct, no nonsense, then hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. I'm Wilfried Lemkuler with Europe Curious, where we don't just repeat the daily headlines, but open the curtain so you can see for yourself what's really behind it. See you in the next one.